What lurks within the dark past of Vermont? Does the past leave behind residual or intelligent spirits? Or can there be things more darker than what we can see or feel? My name is Paul Dolsky, and this is Haunted Vermont. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the brand new premiere of Haunted Vermont podcast. I am your host this evening, Paul Dolsky, and I am joined by some volunteers that have been with Wilson Castle for, well, they can tell their stories. But without further ado, I will have them introduce themselves and they can explain about Wilson Castle.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. My name is Andy, and I am joined with Denise
and Sheila.
I'm one of the volunteers there. Denise is the owner, and Sheila is our paranormal expert and our tour guide, and she's also a volunteer there as well. And we'd love to talk to you about the castle, a little bit of the backstory. The history is it was built in 1885. And it was built for a couple. His name was Dr. John Johnson, and her name was Sarah Robbins. It was built for $1.3 million back then, and it took us quite a bit of time to build. It was 7.5 years. And the couple that it was built for only remained there for a brief time. By 1900, they had lost the castle. They could not afford to live there. And John Johnson vacated town and was never heard from again. So Sarah was left there. There was an auction. There was multiple owners between the first owners and the current owners, which is the Wilson family. And you'll hear a little bit more about their history. But it's quite an interesting place. It's located in Proctor, Vermont. And it is a house museum open for tours from Memorial Day till right around Halloween time. We do a big Halloween event there as well. But it, again, is a very unique and interesting place for Vermont. Denise, her family has owned it since 1939. His grandfather bought it as a summer home, and they've been blessed with being able to live there and enjoy the property since. So that's kind of a little bit of the history. There has been one death that we absolutely know of. It was a heart attack that happened on the second floor. But other than that, it's a very peaceful place, but there are quite a few spirits there.
That's pretty cool, Andy. And was that one of the, do I want to say like maids of honor or one of the other family members that passed away up on the second floor?
It was a maintenance man. He was a very good friend of the family. He did a lot of tours there. His name was Dick Edinger. He was a very nice guy. An unfortunate passing, but he did love the castle, and he spent a lot of time there. So the spirits that we think are there and really enjoyed the place and like to kind of call it home now. We do welcome them. They're just as pleasant as we are. So
Remember, we had an experience with a flashlight. One day I was put a flashlight close by where Dick passed away, and I was telling Denise, the owner, how paranormal stuff, because she wasn't familiar with the shows. So I said, well, for an example, I said, why don't you just list a whole bunch of different names of anyone who has passed away that is somehow affiliated with the castle, and we will ask them if they could just turn on the flashlight if we mention their name. So she did that. She must have listed off about 8 names, and the last one was Richard. And the light was like a strobe light. It was going off and on. Like, it's something you can't do normally with a flashlight. It was amazing. So we asked if he could do it again, and the same thing. It was quite amazing. So he was there, and we could feel his emotion, though. We could feel his excitement of just being talked about. It was kind of made us teary-eyed. Remember, we were really upset. I mean, not upset, but just kind of sad, you know.
What we've noticed too is we're in about our 5th or 6th season of actively restoring the castle, meaning that somebody is there pretty much full-time working on different projects to help kind of restore and keep the place going. And what we've noticed is since the start of that project, a lot more has happened on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
So much that, I mean, the 3 of us experience stuff a lot, and it just doesn't bother us because it's so often that
it seems,
it's comforting.
Yeah, it seems to happen when we're talking about the family. People, yeah, we'll hear a sound like one of the. We even heard a piano. I heard 2 notes of the piano. Actually, my daughter heard that too. She was there. And bells. There's a bell that goes off a lot.
And Denise actually has an interesting story about her first paranormal experience in her own castle. So.
And I'm Denise, and it's been in my family since, well, I was actually born there. And I never experienced any activity there, and I think it was just because it was my home, and I never thought of ghosts or anything scary there. And there was a day that I was overwhelmed by everything because the castle is a huge undertaking. And my mom had passed away a year prior to this incident. And we had always told each other that we would speak to each other if, you know, whoever died first, to let the other one know that we were with them. And I was in the kitchen. I was with 2 other people. We were cleaning the castle because it takes a good 3 weeks to get ready to open. And I was just I was in a state of mind not knowing whether to keep the castle, sell the castle, because I had pressure from my family to sell it, and I'm the only one that had the real sentimental value to keep it. And right as I spoke to my mom silently, and I said, if you're with me, could you help me make this choice? And all of a sudden the dinner bells went off, which are in the dining room off of the kitchen, and that happened twice, and those cannot ring by themselves. You have to ring them with a stick.
Strike them.
Them. And that happened twice, and we all just stood there, and our mouths kind of hung open, and then we have a music box in the next room over, and that doesn't play by itself, and that went off, and that started playing. So that, to me, that was a very happy feeling for me, and I have felt that my family's there ever since.
It was very comforting
for me.
And that's who we think is there, is the Wilson family, mostly because they truly made it their home, and they were the first family to make it their home and to be there as long, longer than any other family. So, if there are any random hitchhiker spirits along the way, they are welcome as well. But we know that Denise's family is there, and they're giving her positive vibes, and they're good graces.
There's out the window. There's a dress of your
grandmother's
that's always been hanging in her bedroom. And it's the only thing hanging in that closet. It's just this one lonely dress. It's dark blue with a thick white collar. And one morning I asked my daughter if she had time to bring me in a coffee. I told her I was alone, and I was going to be alone all day, so I was unable to leave to get myself one. And just asked if she had a moment to do that. And she said, sure. So she comes in with my coffee, and the first thing she says is, hey, Mom, I thought you were working alone today. And I told her I was. And then she says, oh, are you giving a tour right now? And I told her I wasn't. And then she says, well, who's the lady upstairs? And I just looked at her. I said, what? I go, honey, nobody's here. I opened, nobody's been here yet. And she just turned and looked at me. She says, well, there was a lady looking out at me as I was driving up the driveway. I saw the curtain move and everything, and she just stood there. So we went upstairs, and she showed me which window. And as she was kind of replaying what she had seen, I had the need to go and open up the closet. I don't even know why. It was just a pull to do that. So I open up the closet, and my daughter follows behind me, and she's looking into the closet and has just this scary look on her face. And I turned to look at her, and I said, honey, what's wrong? Nobody's in there. She said, Mom, that dress. And she's pointing at the dress, and I said, oh, and I take the dress out, and I said, oh, yeah, this is the only one that's always been in there ever since I started working. And she was like, no, Mom, the lady that I saw in the window was wearing that dress. And we were just shocked. And after that happened, I finally took time to read this book that's downstairs called New England Ghosts. There's a few pages of Wilson Castle in it. And the second page I read, there's a woman frequently seen wearing a dark colored dress with a white collar. I mentioned that to my daughter, and after that, there were two other tourists throughout different times of me working there that have seen that same, had this kind of the same experience, a little bit different, but they, I know I'm not talking, so I'll have to explain. One day I was taking a break. I was the only one in the castle. I heard some tourists coming up the driveway. I overheard one of them say, oh, they are open. See the lady up on the second floor. And I was on the first floor, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So I go outside to look at them, and they said, oh, yeah, we weren't sure if you were open, but then we saw the lady up in the window, and so we started walking up, and immediately I knew what they saw, but I kind of kept it to myself, and I brought them in, did the whole tour. And when I was upstairs in that room, I waited until the guy was close, parallel to the closet. And when I opened the closet, he looks in, and I saw the look on his face. And he kind of was silent for a bit, and then he turns and looks at me, and he says, I saw ghosts, didn't I? And he says, the lady was wearing that dress. And I said, yeah, it was just, this happens a lot. This is 3 times since I've been there, with my daughter included. We just had so many different things happen. I had another incident where there was this French family. They all spoke French. The daughter was doing the translating. She spoke English. I never learned French. I don't understand it, and I can't speak it. And I completed the whole tour. We were on our way downstairs. They were behind me talking amongst themselves, all in French. And all of a sudden, I could understand everything they were saying in French. So I responded, because what they were saying in French was, I wonder if there were any deaths, I wonder if the place is haunted, things like that. So I answered them, and they acted so excited, because I just thought I thought the daughter was, I don't know, I didn't understand why they were all excited. And they said, we didn't know you could speak French. And I said, I can't. And they said, well, you just did. And the daughter's nodding. She says, you just said that in French. And I can't even tell you how I felt. I don't even know how that happened, but there's this person that comes in a lot. He's the kid who, and I call it, what's his name? He knows Denise. He comes in a lot. He's a teenager. And he was hanging out. At least I thought he was hanging out upstairs. I was giving a tour out in the hallway, And I kept glancing into the master bedroom, noticing him in there, just, on his phone. And I must have glanced in there about 3 or 4 times, just giving my tour and just glancing. So I always show the room right across the hall that's directly across from the room he was in. I always go in there first, and right as I was just about to enter the room, I saw him sitting there in that room in the same exact position that I saw him in the master bedroom. I turned and looked in the room that I saw him in. Nobody was there. And I turned back into the bridal suite, and he's just looking at me like, goes, is it okay for me to be here? And I was just like, totally like, I don't even know how to explain that one, but that really happened. And yeah, that was a true story, though. I'm trying to think.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, real quick, too, is like, I've been into the Wilson Castle twice. And it was once when I brought my fiance for the tour. And then there was another time where it was during the fall season. And I don't know if you remember, but a few people wanted to film like a short film up in your attic. And
Yeah.
I was there to help them within that shoot for the short film. And I must say, when it got toward nighttime, that castle feels like it comes to life in the fall.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when I hear like Andy and maybe Sheila or maybe every volunteer at this point. But and I know you live there maybe all year round, or if you do there, Denise, too, I think is what I heard, right?
It's not open year round, but I'm there in and out. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I always hear though that like nobody wants to stay there once it gets dark. So
well, I'll be honest with you, there are a couple rooms up on the second floor that no one dares to stay in overnight. They're very, very, I mean, they just give you that bad vibe. So no, I'm with you on that. Oh yeah. I mean, no one wants to really be in there by themselves either.
Yeah.
So even in the daytime.
I think so.
Now, which room is this?
The 2 bedrooms would be the bridal suite, which is the pink colored bedroom upstairs, and then the teal colored bedroom, which is above the music room, always known as Mrs. Wilson's room. But the one with the dress. Yeah. And whenever we get pictures that come back, the ones are predominantly always from those 2 rooms. And the activity actually is pretty much concentrated on the second floor. The castle does have 3 full floors, and there's an attic. The 3rd floor has never been open for tours, because there's only one way up and one way down. But the activity predominantly is in those 2 rooms and then in that kind of central hallway.
Not to mention, we have a tourist that took a photo of himself in front of the castle, and he caught the lady in the dress in the window and actually called the castle after my tour and said, hey, I think I have a picture of the lady that your daughter saw, because I always mention these paranormal stories to the ones that I feel are open to it. And he sent that picture, and sure enough, looks like a woman wearing that dress in the window.
Now, is this the lady that, Andy, that you guys sent those 3 photos to me? Is it that lady?
So, we're not entirely positive it's that an exact woman. However, the dress that she's wearing in that photo looks identical to the dress that's in the closet. So it's very,
Interesting.
very, very weird. And the weird thing about those two photos was there was 3 people in the castle when those photos were taken, and the photos are of a gentleman and his son who had come there, and Sheila was the only other person in the castle at the time. And I know what Sheila looks like, and the woman in the photo was not her. And then she appears in another photo, the same father and son, in the other room, in the bridal suite.
Yeah,
so they caught 2 photos of spirits.
Full-blown apparitions. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and that's a really great capture.
And you would swear it was a person.
Yeah.
You know, it
Agreed.
wasn't a mist or it wasn't an orb.
Right.
It was a full
But they
full
look at
picture.
a time, too.
Yeah, it's almost like... Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like I'm literally looking at you, or at her in this case, and she's a real person.
The tourist is who sent those photos in to say, wow, look at this photo, or look at these photos, that's not you.
Yeah.
You know, and even though the castle's a fairly big place, you know who's coming and going.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm pretty confident that she knew she was the only other person in there besides those 2.
And just to throw it out there, but anybody that works at the Wilson Castle, does anybody wear that particular type of dress at all? Or gown?
No. The dress is from I would guess, late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm not sure anyone in a long time has actually worn the dress. The dress, ironically, has always been kind of in this closet, and it is the one superstitious item in the castle in the sense that no one really moves it from this closet for fear. And it could have been Denise's grandmother's dress. We keep it there as kind of an ode to the spirits that could be wearing it.
It just feels like it should stay there.
Yeah.
It just does.
Like everyone respects it.
Right.
I might have seen the gown that you're talking about in the closet. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% certain, but
the only time we removed it is to around Halloween time. We usually will, set the castle up for our haunted tours, and we display it and have a little placard for it there at that time. We'll actually pull it out and set it on the bed so that people can kind of see it a little bit better. So we do show it off.
That's awesome. And it's incredible that, like, these photos that you sent me anyway, with, like, even the lady that is in the mirror that is facing the window, she looks like she's got this very interesting, like, ponytail going on, it seems.
Yes. Yeah, I know it. It's weird. I just couldn't get over it.
And then in the other one, it's like she's in the door frame, and it almost looks like she's just kind of, I don't know, either walking by or she's just standing there kind of looking.
Actually, you know what? We recreated the scene. I wanted to know why the ghost was standing by that doorway. And when I stood right there, it was basically she's parallel to the person taking the photo. So basically she's looking directly at the man taking the photo. So the man's right in front of her.
It's a very awkward,
crazy.
But
yeah.
And I sent you the third photo, and the third photo is actually from about, I would say, 5 to 6 years ago. And it was a volunteer that volunteered for the haunted tours at the time. And she was in the same exact room. And a photo was taken of her. And you can actually see 2 spirits in that photo. One we saw right off, knowing that it wasn't an actual person. And then I'd say a year after that, noticed that there was another one kind of in the window frame, and he's a little harder to see. We think he's like a small child just kind of leaning against the door frame, or the window frame, excuse me. That one photo made me more of a believer than anything else. I mean, I've witnessed when we do have the South Glens Falls Paranormal Society come in. They're a great group. We use them to do our ghost tours that are kind of open to the public, where they go and investigate. We are going to try to work on a historical ghost tour, which is less investigation and more kind of the weird and mysterious history behind the castle. And if you happen to catch something, then that'll be cool. But
a lot of tourists do too. We have a lot of photos built up. People.
So, but even those events that they've hosted, I've gone and participated, and my jaw was on the floor the first time because I wasn't believing what I was seeing. And I mean, after, I can remember just trying to call up a bunch of my friends and saying, "Oh my God, this is what's happening! I can't believe this! Can't believe what I just witnessed." So it's very, very interesting and intriguing.
Yeah, we had when the ghost hunters were there at the end of the session, I thanked all the spirits for everything that they said and did, and then we heard a man say, "You're welcome," right through the spirit box. It was amazing. And I've heard him say it several times.
Wow, that's awesome. And just to throw it out there too, just to clarify too, but and just like I said, throw it out there, and which is, you've never seemed to have any type of, negative things get thrown out there, as most locations, as you hear with paranormal. Usually you hear something about like an evil spirit, but from what I've heard here and have been hearing and even felt, I've always felt safe. And you almost feel like you're safe in the Wilson Castle. You got that warm comfort of a welcome, as this is like your own castle in a way, as I may say. Like it's weird. Like it's almost like you feel like you are home, even though it's not your home.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's interesting you say that, because we really try to make people feel like they're at home when they do come and visit, tourists or locals alike, because it is a place that Denise has fought for a long time and suffered in a way to keep it going, and she would like everyone to enjoy it. So, if they're on otherworldly kind of inhabitants that come by as well, then we welcome them.
It's funny because people will always ask when they come into the castle, they're like, don't you get your hair cologne? When they first come in, and I'm like, yeah, I never, for some reason, I don't know why, I'm never afraid there.
Yeah, I think each of us has spent a lot of time there by ourselves and never felt threatened.
Wow.
That's my bird.
Great.
My parrot wanted to say something.
I think your parrot agrees that it's a nice, warm, welcoming feeling, I think.
And he's going to be there, too, this coming season. He's going to be helping me.
Aww.
He's going to help me give tours. He's going to be on my shoulder. Right?
We swear she has both of her legs, though. She won't have a peg leg and
That's right.
a pirate hat on.
Say hi, Sleepy.
The lady in the gown is in the window. Now, is that the window? So, if I'm looking at the castle outside, is it the window on the right side or the left side?
Yeah. It's on the right-hand side.
Kind of in the hexagon little section of the castle, above where the music room is.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any more type of weird stories that you hear from people about this lady or anybody else?
I I'm trying to think. There were 3 different tourists when I was there that have seen the lady in that dress. She wasn't always on the 2nd floor. Somebody saw her actually on the 3rd floor. But it's just people telling me what they saw. I actually...
Well, there was one time, actually this kind of did spook me out a little bit, but there was one time a couple of years ago where I was down in the basement, and it was about 7:15 in the evening, and I was the only one there. And this wasn't uncommon. I, would get out of work and I'd go up there and do some more work. But when you arrive there and you don't see anyone's car, and you unlock the door and go in, you kind of, you have a sense that no one's there. So I go down, do a bunch of work, and maybe a half an hour into being down in the basement, I could hear somebody walking in the hallway up above,
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped what I was doing and raced up the stairs to see who was there, because it gets lonely there by yourself. And no one.
Yeah.
No one was there. And so just kind of brushed it off, went back down, did a few more, hours worth of work. Well, the next day, the same exact thing happens at pretty much the same time. And at that point, it did scare me a little bit. And I remember going out and sitting on the fountain, and just kind of gathering my thoughts for a good half an hour because I didn't really want to go back inside right away. It was a neat experience, but I swore somebody was there.
I do have one. You just reminded me. I don't think I shared it with you guys. It was like a door slamming, but it was kind of at an appropriate time to scare this tourist. I had, out of the whole 7 years, there's only been a couple people that made me a little nervous giving a tour, and this one guy in particular, I was really kind of hoping he was going to, go, and he made me very nervous. And the door to the left of me just opened and slammed, and he was petrified and left. I don't think I ever shared that with you guys. But you know what? I felt that something was protecting me because that person left. I was so surprised. That happened this past year that just went by this season. I can't even believe that. That was like, wow. It must have been somebody in your family. I was really nervous. And I swear to God, I've been there like 7 years, I think. I've never been, like, ghosts aren't the ones that scare me. It's the real people. And there was just, like I said, these 2 different times. And, yeah, that was pretty cool that the house protected me. Yeah, that was cool.
All I'm going to say to that story is I'm so glad that they didn't feel threatened or disturbed by me, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm glad I didn't have a door slam on me, so. I mean, I know that's always like a paranormal investigator dream is to have like some type of activity like that, like a door slam or a door even opening or something. But I mean, in this case, that just, I have to agree that sounds like somebody from the family is watching over you no matter what. And they all, it's always that saying too, like, how animals can sense danger in somebody or and stuff. It's almost like they knew too. So in order to take care of the problem, in this case, was to slam the door to, in hopes that they would leave, which this guy who was making you nervous did. And
he definitely left.
Yeah, I mean, he probably got his fix for the day and was just like, well, maybe I need to rethink my life or something, like, it's really interesting to listen to people who are like 50-50. And what I mean by that is like they're 50s believers and then they're 50% skeptical. Like, they want to
Right.
believe, but they don't. But then in this case, when you throw something like that, which I'm going to have to say, for me being a paranormal guy, I got to ask. Now, with this door that is opening and closing, can you, what's the word I'm looking for? Can you confirm that there was no, like, wind or any type of...
Yes. No, it was a door that was like in the center of it was, let's see, the one that separates, the
hallway.
Yeah. So it's not like there's no wind there, and there wasn't anybody else there. And it's a heavy door too. So it really surprised me. I mean, I've never witnessed that doing it any other time.
That's
I was just going to mention a couple stories quick. Just kind of wrap up what I guess have to say. First off, we do fundraisers, we do tours. One of the things that we started doing is a Buy a Brick to Save a Brick program. And that's basically a $5 donation, and you get a piece of a castle brick that got pulled from the building in restoration, and we replace it with another brick that's exactly the same, but that's full. So we have this program, and I run their social media. I do the Facebook and the Instagram. And I had a couple message us at the castle that had purchased a brick a couple years back, and they purchased it in October. Well, they were from the Carolinas, and they got it home, and she messaged the castle and said that ever since they brought this brick home, they've had activity at their house, and that they think something came with the brick home with them. And they were pretty adamant that they were going to get it cleansed, and they would send it back to us. And I promptly replied and said, I would love to pay for you to send it back to this castle, because we need our spirit back. And then
awesome.
We did, so the other story is we have a pool table on the second floor, and for the longest time it never had a set of pool balls that were kind of worthy of displaying on the table. So I had an antiques friend of mine kind of source one of these old billiard sets that we could display on this old table, and she found one, gave it to us, donated it to the castle. It was all great. It was always on display on the table. Well, a tourist in the fall again had swiped the 8-ball off of the table and pocketed it and left. So we were without our 8-ball. Now, fast forward to the middle of the winter, and Denise receives the package in the mail, and with an anonymous note apologizing for taking the 8-ball, and their bad luck had ensued. As soon as they had taken it, they promptly mailed it back, and it is now in the closet so that no one else takes it. But so our spirits are looking out for us at the castle.
Oh my God.
And there's some funny stories, but it's all good and it's all fun.
Well, they think it's fun. On the other hand, we might not think it's fun, but they do.
Yeah. I just, lights turning off now too. That happened at the perfect time. I had is it all right to mention the couple? There was a couple I was giving a tour to, and there's one room that tends to be a little bit darker than the others. And it was a dark day. And they were talking amongst themselves. I overheard them saying, God, it's really dark in here. And so I said, I apologize for it being dark. There's a spotlight that just popped on right towards their direction, too, which was pretty cool.
Blinded them.
Yeah, right then and there. It was just great. And they looked at me, and I was not anywhere near it. They had a weird look, like, how did that go on? And I just said, well, that just happens here sometimes. Really know what else to say.
I think people automatically assume when they come that it's haunted, so
yeah.
If they find or see or hear something, feel something, it's an added bonus when they
Exactly.
when I come. But I mean, the castle is beautiful. It's a very, very large home. 32 rooms. The woodwork, the furnishings, are top notch, and it is an architectural masterpiece. So if you're ever in the area, we'd love to have each one of you come. We're open Memorial Day to right around Halloween for like daily tours. We do offer spooky tours and haunted tours. We do ghost tours, masquerade balls. We're open for hosting parties, kind of anything. The sky's the limit, and we'd love to kind of expand more. We're really trying to get the gears going here.
There's another photograph that I would like to talk about, which I forgot to send it to you, Andy, but you might know what I'm talking about anyway. But it's 2 photos from where the piano usually is on the stairs, and there's
Oh.
and there's
So that's
2
an organ on the landing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's 2 very interesting photos that people think can be debunked by just by using the shutter setting and getting the right glare from the beautiful window design that is even there too. And the funny thing about this is because, of course, you know, as I was stating before, as a paranormal investigator as well, like I gotta think of it as that too. But you know, when I was there helping with the film, we took a break, and of course, I had my camera. So I remembered the whole, oh, you can easily debunk this. No, you cannot, because I've tried every setting in the shutter speed, tried getting the right glare, everything.
Right.
I cannot duplicate the 2 photos at all. And one of them looks like as if somebody is sitting down trying to play the organ.
Yeah,
And then,
it does.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is a picture that we do often show tourists too, because we do believe in that photo.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that, on those 2 photos anyways? I'd like to hear your opinion on those anyway, but for the last one real quick, where it doesn't look like somebody is sitting down, it looks like maybe somebody is, I don't know, kind of like got close, and that's why it kind of feels like it's a lot bigger glare, per se,
right.
If that makes sense. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on these 2 photos.
Well, I'll probably, okay, so those 2 photos, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, but because it's more of a myth than it is an actual, it's more of a light thing to me. I would be more of a skeptic on that photo. I can see where people would believe it, and I do to an extent, but for me, personally, I need more solid evidence. I need more solid proof. And the 2 photos that we were referring to earlier, or the 3 photos that I had provided you, myself, I'm more confident in telling you that is an anomaly, that is a spirit, because I know for a fact that there wasn't that woman. That woman was not there. You know, maybe in spirit form, but not in physical form. Even though instead of it being a mist of her, you literally see a woman standing there.
Yeah.
So that's more me personally when I look at photos. You know, there are photos of orbs, there's photos of this and that. Those don't excite me personally. The full body apparitions that we've gotten in those photographs, in those 2 bedrooms, that to me is hands down definitive proof.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to agree with you, Andy, on that one.
I'm more of a skeptic. I'm honestly not the most into the paranormal. it's awesome. It's fascinating to me. It doesn't necessarily scare me. It does intrigue me, but it's not my go-to thing. So a lot has to convince me that it's really there. And I guess, like I've mentioned before, there's a lot that you can't explain it.
Wow.
And that's, Denise can explain too more. It's got to stare her in the face for her to believe it.
Because I grew up there and I never had anything frighten me. But I've been with Andy where we both looked at each other and thought, wow.
Oh, yeah.
This is real.
Another instance, Denise and I were sitting up in her office, and it was a very rainy day. We were on the second floor, and we were just hanging out, and honestly, there was a couple that were looking to get married there, and they were going to meet Denise. They were a little late, which is fine, but they basically they parked their car and they sat there for a few minutes. We were up in the office and we heard these footsteps right outside her office door by the pool table, enough where we both got up and thought that this couple was going to be right outside there. And I kid you not, as soon as we walked out of her office door, the phone rang, and it was this couple. They were still in their car wanting to make sure we were there. So that really kind of, the two of us looked at each other like, wow, we heard the same thing. But it was very, very, very weird.
A little spooky.
A little spooky.
Yeah.
I unfortunately haven't had any excitement like that the both times I was there. Maybe because they're still trying to feel me out or something. But I mean, if the spirits are somehow listening right now, I just want to say, I mean you no harm, and I just want to give my all respect to the loving and beautiful castle that you guys have built and created and still live in, I should say, and watch over the family today even. So I just want to throw that out there to even the spirits of the Wilson Castle, because you just never know if they're listening or not. So.
Oh, yeah.
So. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for your time. And
thank you.
And I hope that these spirits of the Wilson Castle will keep watching over each and every one of you.
I think they do.
My name is Steve Brott. I am the founder and owner of the South Glens Falls Paranormal Society. We're based in upstate New York. We're about an hour and 10-minute drive from Wilson Castle. We've been investigating as a group since 2010, and our first trip to Wilson Castle was in 2014, I believe. So we've been going there for a little over about 5 years now. And we've had a lot of crazy experiences out there.
What did you think of the castle like when you first arrived there?
Yeah, when you pull up to Wilson Castle, especially for the first time, it's amazing. They don't build houses and they don't build buildings like that anymore. To see, the detail and the craftsmanship and all the woodwork and the stonework outside. I mean, the castle it's amazing. It's an amazing building, and it's in really, important part of history. And it's cool that, the family is there and they're saving and they're doing all this work to restore the castle and keep it open to the public. You walk inside and you just, you can't believe that at one point it was just somebody's home. It looks too grand and too big to have just been somebody's house, but it's a really cool building.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I had to help a film crew create or shoot, I should say, a short film, and this was up in the attic of Wilson Castle, where not volunteers, where the public isn't really allowed to be, of course.
Right.
And, even the attic area alone is really unique looking with the window up in the attic. And just even the space of the attic doesn't really feel like an attic, if that makes any sense. But
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole house is grand. Like even the attic is grand. The back servant staircase is very, you know, ornate and detailed, and they really didn't treat any space of the house differently. Everything was, you know, very, very well done, and took a lot of time, and there's a lot of detail in the woodwork and just the thought that went into every single room in that place.
yeah, exactly. And like there's just so much really cool old history with it, whether it's the I forget what they call it right now, the ledger book, I think.
Yep. Yep.
And then you got the old dress that people have claimed to have seen a lady wear, and when they actually see that nobody's actually wearing this dress, that's when they're like, whoa, like, wait a minute, that's in the closet, even though I just saw this on a lady, like, what's going on here? But
Yeah. When we were just out there, actually, for one of our events, we've been hosting public ghost hunts out there for, again, 4 or 5 years now, where we sell tickets and the public comes out and gets a chance to investigate the castle with us. And we were just out there in October for one of our events, and they showed us a bunch of pictures that this guy had captured in the second floor of the building, and you see a woman wearing that dress in the pictures, and everybody, even the volunteers, they swear, there was no women there. It was just this guy and his kid and a few male volunteers in the building. There was no women there at the time, and the pictures are pretty incredible.
no, I completely agree. And when I saw the pictures too, there was one of them that I had to get some clarification, because I'm looking at it going, okay, what am I supposed to be looking at in this one? Like, is it the closet? Like, what's going on? And
Right,
then,
yeah.
yeah, and then Andy had to point out, no, look at the mirror. And I'm like, oh. I was like, yeah, what is that lady doing in the doorway? And they were saying, like, they tried, I don't know if they told you, but when I was just talking to them Friday night for this episode, that they were saying they tried to recreate the image of where the person was standing and where this lady was, because they're not really sure who the lady really is. And they were saying, like, because of where this person was standing who took the picture and where the lady was in the doorway, it was almost like a parallel line between, like, those two people. So, like, it was like literally whoever that lady was in the doorway was, like, almost staring at the person taking the picture.
Yeah, when they showed us the pictures that night, we ended up spending, probably half hour, 45 minutes ourselves up in those rooms, trying to just recreate and figure out where this woman would have been standing based off of the photos and everything, and we just couldn't wrap our head around, any explanation for it. There's no way there's a reflection of something that looks like a person. There's no, shadow being cast. There's just no way to recreate these images the way they've been captured. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's especially when, because I used to do paranormal investigations myself, and then I took a break from it for a while, and then, but even when I was at the castle trying to shoot that short film, did they ever show you the other two pictures where it would by the piano there up on the stairs, and right next to that beautiful window display that they have?
No, we haven't seen those ones yet.
Oh man, I should have sent that to you. Well,
yeah, definitely.
one of them shows this weird glow, almost as if somebody is sitting down next to the piano or on the seat of the piano, like almost like they're playing. And then there's another one where it's like this weird, I'm trying to think how to even describe it, like diagonal light through the picture, as if maybe whatever this thing is, if it's even a thing, it could just be like, a camera fault or something too. But
Right.
really weird when you really see these two images. And then it's really hard to debunk this sort of thing because I think I have a pretty nice camera that could easily maybe try to debunk these two pictures. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's the way the sun is coming in, or maybe some type of the lighting or something that's maybe shining this off and it's making it look like somebody's sitting there. But no, I could never reduplicate what the two pictures show.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's Wilson Castle is just so full of activity. It's every single time that we've been there in the last 5 years, we've had multiple personal experiences and captured some pretty cool evidence. I know you'd asked if I could send you some, and I wanted to so badly. My computer, actually, we recently just had a computer problem, and I'm still working on getting all my files back and sorted and hard drive issues, but I have some. So if I can get them cleaned up and figure out where they are after this issue, I will get them over to you as soon as I can, because we've captured some really cool audio there.
Nice. And I don't know if you've ever had the issue, but have you heard from anybody either on social media or even from people that did the tours with you guys about? I hear it all the time from people where they say, Wilson Castle was investigated, but nothing was ever found, so it can't be haunted. So I guess what I want to ask you is, like, when you guys first ever got to this Wilson Castle, did you at all believe that, oh man, I'm going to go in here and capture something? Or do you actually go in there with an open mind, like, yeah, maybe there might be something? Because, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like, that's exactly the way we look at it. Every one of our investigations is a blank slate. So when we go to a new location as a group, we're all completely skeptical of the location. Not that we don't believe the stories and the things that people are saying, but we kind of have to experience it and, see it and capture it for ourselves to come out and say, okay, there is activity here. Because, people can just say anywhere is haunted. You can say your closet's haunted, but until there's activity and evidence to back it up, it's just stories. But, when we first got there, we were hopeful. We were, going into it with an open mind, saying these are the claims. We'll focus on these areas, see if we can figure out maybe alternate explanations for what this could have been. And, hopefully we'll catch some stuff along the way. And just from the first time we've been there, we've just never been disappointed. Every time we go to Wilson Castle, we have cool activity and we capture cool things. And we've been doing events out there, like I said, for about 5 years, and it's definitely one of our guests' favorite locations. We have people who come back to Wilson Castle every single time we do an event there. No matter how often we go, they're always there. People love going there.
That's great. Now, I know you mentioned you're having computer issues, but do you remember anything particular that you guys have captured that kind of stayed with you from?
Yeah, it's cool. One of the times, actually, I happened to miss this investigation. I had lived in Georgia for about a year with my wife, and when we were down in Georgia, they were still hosting our events and stuff out there, and there was 2 groups of guests at the event. And the one group was up on the 2nd floor, and the other group was down on the 1st floor. Actually, the first group was up on the 3rd floor by the attic there, and they heard a scream, like a woman's scream, from inside the building. So they assumed that somebody in the first group, had gotten scared. Somebody popped out at somebody or something like that. So they had actually used their walkie-talkies and radioed down and said, oh, who screamed? Like, what happened? And the other group said, that wasn't us. Like, we thought that was you guys. So both groups had heard a woman scream from inside the castle, and they captured it on the audio recording. And to this day, they said it was a loud female scream, like made everybody's hair on their arms stand up. It was definitely from inside the castle, they said.
That's crazy. Now, have you guys gotten any names at all of who is still there watching over the castle, or have you not gotten that lucky yet?
We haven't gotten direct names on recordings or anything. We've asked questions and, gotten some interaction and responses through our other K2 meters and EMF detectors and other items like that, where we think that a lot of the people that are there are family. And, they're people that lived in the castle when it was first built and when Colonel Wilson owned it. And we've had interaction with Colonel Wilson in the castle. So we believe he's there. We believe that it's mostly, the family and maybe a couple past workers that we've actually ran into there.
Yeah, that's exactly like what Andy and even the owner, Denise, even said.
Yep.
They think is still there and watching over. And they were telling us a cool little story, too, about they ended up doing, how they do the whole, what do they call it, the Save a Brick Foundation thing?
Yep.
Well, Andy was telling us a story that there was one time where they had to send a brick to someplace, and the person that got the old brick ended up having activity at their place to the point where they're like, we'll get this brick cleansed and send it back to you. And Andy writes back, I'll just pay you to just send back our ghost. Like, it's really, I thought that was kind of funny, but at the same time, I completely understand because, it's like, it's part of a family thing. So you want that family member back. So completely.
Right, and I think that was one of the cool things, too, when they had asked us, to keep coming back after we had gone out the first time. They're not scared, and that's something you don't find all the time. When you go to a lot of places that have activity, either the owners or the people that live in the home, they're afraid, and sometimes they want whatever's there to leave and to be gone. And that's the exact opposite at Wilson Castle. They love it, they embrace it, and they love interacting with the spirits that are there because, like you said, it is their family, and it's a part of the castle, and it's a part of the castle's history.
Exactly. And now, I've kind of been at the castle when there's not that many people there at nighttime, and I know you guys have been there too. But have you guys actually been there without doing the tour, where it's just literally you and your team, and you got this? I mean, you got this really interesting vibe because that you probably heard from Andy and everybody that they don't like to stay there once it really gets dark.
Yeah, we've actually done. I want to say 3 or 4 just private group investigations with just our group members where we go in and have the whole castle to ourselves for the whole night and set up all of our cameras and everything. We've done that a handful of times, and we're going to do it again this year. We like to do that at least once a year just so we can get some fresh evidence to also play at our events at the castle to kind of show people what we've captured there before. So we try to get out there as just a group by ourselves at least once a year. And last year, we were actually lucky enough to start doing some sleepover events out there. So now when we do public ghost hunts out there, we actually offer sleepovers so people can sleep in the castle through the night and try to experience stuff in their rooms while they're sleeping.
Now, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's an investigation that really doesn't end. You're there all night, and you never know when stuff's going to happen.
Wow. Now what? Now, what about the people that like I hate kind of bringing them up, but like if you were to tell somebody who said the castle isn't haunted, now how would you not react, but what would your comment be on that? Like for somebody who thinks, like I said earlier, the castle's been investigated before and nothing has come out of it and it's not haunted and it's fabricated.
I would say go back again and again because you never know when you're going to have activity. We've been to locations multiple times, and there'll be some nights when we get to these locations and absolutely nothing happens the entire night we're there and we don't catch a single thing. We could go back a week later and have, a crazy full night of activity. So it really depends on, I think, the people that are there, the investigating. You have to be open to it. You have to give off the right kind of energy, I think. I think the spirits feed off of that, and they read off of that. They can tell who wants to interact and who doesn't. It's just like if you walk into a room of people alive, and you can tell that, nobody in there really wants you in there, and they don't want to talk to you, and, they don't want anything to do with you. Why would you go up and try to reach out and interact with them? So if you go into a haunted location with that same mindset of, this isn't haunted, there's nothing here, this is ridiculous, the spirits can feel that, and I feel like they can read that, and they're not going to interact with you. Why would they? Why would they waste their time? So I think going in with a very open mind and going back multiple times is the best way to do it. And if you go there 100 times and absolutely nothing happens, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the location doesn't have paranormal activity. For some reason, you're just not hitting it on the right nights. We've been to spots, 4 or 5 times, absolutely nothing happens. We go back the 6th time, and we have really cool activity for the whole night we're there. So I think, I would just tell somebody to not give up. Don't give up on a spot just because you've been a couple times and you haven't captured anything.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you just said. I mean, it's true, though. Like, I mean, you can go anywhere, really, and get that one good night. And maybe it's just even like 1 or 2 things. At least you got something, really. But then the next time you go there, you might not be so lucky. But I don't know. It's really hard to, I guess, please people. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true because, everybody thinks like, oh, if this place is haunted or whatever, they expect it to always see something, if that makes sense. So it's really odd that you would think everything is going to be the same every time you go there, and you expect to always see something. Where I think a lot of people forget, and I don't know what your thoughts on this is really, because since it is like my first time talking to you, by the way, and it's, how do you look at spirits when it comes to like the energy? Do you feel like once they use up some of their energy, it takes them a while to recharge? Or do you feel maybe, like you were saying, like the spirits know who to interact with and stuff, and that's when they would maybe take some energy from your cell phone or something, just to make themselves known?
Right. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it does require energy for them to manifest and show themselves or make a noise or move something. I definitely think they need energy for that. So I think, sometimes they just don't have it. They don't have what they need in order to show themselves. I think it also is sometimes our fault. Maybe for some reason we aren't seeing them. Like, our eyes and our mind might not work on the same level of whatever plane that they're working on. And I think a lot of it having to do with people, always expecting to experience stuff. A lot of it is, Hollywood and TV's fault. You watch all these ghost hunting TV shows and these ghost hunting movies, and every time they go to a location, every single room that they go in, they get some kind of crazy activity and intelligent responses and nonstop stuff. And I think that, gets in people's minds, and they're like, oh, this is how it really is. And they don't realize that you can go sit in a building for 8 hours and not have anything happen, and that's way more realistic than what happens on these TV shows. And I think that has a lot to do with people's expectations when they're going somewhere.
Exactly. And sometimes it can even take 5 hours out of the 8 hours before you even start getting anything. It's really up to them. And if they feel comfortable enough, or if they even have the energy, they will show themselves. If not, then I guess you can do like what I used to do with my team. I used to usually wait for a full moon, and then I would go out and investigate that whatever location we're going to. And usually then, because the theory, well, I don't know if it's really been proven for sure, but I'll say theory for the lack of phrasing right now, but they say the moon, once it's full, it almost gives off the energy So, and that is a good battery for spirit to be able to draw from the moon to manifest and interact with you as well without having to take batteries from, or battery level from like your phone or your camcorder or anything electronic really. So I don't know, maybe that might have a nice way to recharge your battery too, maybe?
Right, yeah. I mean, you gotta think, a lot of people take their crystals and, if they're into crystals and all that stuff, and they recharge them in a full moon. So I think that is kind of the same idea where, it's charging the atmosphere. And like you were saying, it is theory. Nobody really knows how any of this works because nobody has had the opportunity to die, use the equipment from the other side, and then come back and say, okay, so this is how it works and this is why this doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Nobody knows for sure. So I think really trying anything and everything, going out in a full moon, going out in, a crescent moon and all this stuff, and just trying different things, I think it's going to be a way to further, investigations. When we do private group investigations, we have forms that we fill out for each investigation. It has the location, the date, the time, the temperature, the humidity. We do the moon phase. So we track all of that for our investigation so we can try to build, some kind of pattern. If we can find one, maybe it is always a full moon and there's crazy activity. So we're just trying to find ways to build some kind of pattern and get some more answers, more so than just going out and sitting in a dark room and asking questions. We're trying to really find that next thing that says, okay, if we go somewhere when it's a full moon, we tend to get more activity, because that'll help. If we can get that narrowed down, then people can start going out on investigations when it is a full moon, and maybe they'll get more answers. But Wilson Castle, I think, the spirits there are, I think, so appreciative of the work that's being done to save the castle, and they know it's their family, and they know that nobody there wants them to leave, so they're always eager to interact. I think you can go there when there's a full moon, anytime, and you're going to get some kind of interaction if you sit there long enough and you try. They do have to get comfortable with you, like you were saying. I think it is a comfort thing. It's just like when you meet new people, you're not going to, run right up and start doing everything they tell you. You have to build that trust in the relationship with them, and then you're going to start to get results. It's really cool to see out there the way the spirits enjoy interacting.
Once again, I'm going to have to agree with you. And I want to say, even when I first went there, and I can't exactly remember how long we were actually there. Maybe it was like 10 in the morning. No, it was, it was the time Wilson Castle opened to the time they actually closed. So during the short film shooting, we heard like the tourists and stuff, and they were trying to be quiet and stuff when they were near the second floor. And I do remember, though, like when I first stepped into Wilson Castle, I almost felt as if it was very, not, I don't want to say crowded, but it was very like you knew something was, I think, watching you. It was almost like you knew, you had that feeling like somebody was like just eyeballing you and like watching your every move. And it was like, it's kind of one of those things where you're looking over your shoulder because you feel the gazing of the eyes on you, even though nothing's there. But it's that feeling of the castle, and maybe not all people will get it because, like we were just saying, maybe the spirits are comfortable with you, or maybe they're still trying to feel you out. Because I mean, I personally have only been into the castle maybe 3 times, and that may not even be enough really to tell the spirits like, oh, okay, like this guy is okay. You know what I mean? Like, you've been there, you said 5 years, 6 years now, coming up, and they should know you by now pretty well. So they're like, oh, these guys again. Oh yeah, like, like we'll interact with them. And then like Denise was telling me one of her crazy stories that she didn't even tell like Andy and Sheila is that there was one time she had a very weird feeling for this person for a tour, and when they got to the second floor, this door beside her opened up and slammed. And of course, the guy that was giving off that really weird, bad vibe, took off out of the castle. So she thinks there was a family member not only watching her, but looking out for the people that have that bad vibe. And so that's what Denise thinks. And I kind of agree, because if it is family, it's almost like I mentioned before. If it acts, it's almost like it's an animal. An animal can sense somebody if they're bad or not, and they're gonna start barking or meowing or hissing or whatever, and want to scratch you or bite you. I think it works with the spirit world as well, where the spirits are gonna know if you're a bad person, and they're gonna try to find that way to spook you enough to leave their territory, as a weird way of putting it. But in this way, they're home. It's literally their home.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they definitely, like I said, they definitely can pick up on that stuff. I think they can tell, who's got the right intentions and who doesn't. And they're going to protect their family, and they're going to protect their house just like they would when they were alive. You know what I mean? This has been their house for 100 years by now. Why wouldn't they protect it from somebody who they don't think has the right intentions of being there? So if they don't feel that you're there for the right reasons, I don't see why they wouldn't do something like that to get you out of there. You know what I mean? And I think that is really, it's kind of cool, because they're caring about this building 100 years later, even though they've passed on, and they're taking care of it in their own way, which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It just it really showed the whole meaning that family love lasts forever, or something like that. It's the bond of a family love. The family love bond, there we go, is so strong that even after death, that people can still protect and carry on with what they were doing before.
Absolutely. And I think again, like, they appreciate the fact that, Denise and all the volunteers are there saving this building and keeping it as grand as it is, and open to the public and sharing it with everybody. I think they appreciate that. And they're going to take care of it the best way that they can from the other side. And it's really cool to see. And it's cool when we're there with Denise and all the volunteers. It's cool to see how they interact with the spirits, because, they're there more than anybody. They're there all the time, and it is their family. So it's interesting to see how the spirits respond when they're asking questions and when they're there doing the sessions and everything. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I still have to go to one of these nights. I keep forgetting about it, or something always comes up, and I'm like, darn it, every time it's over. And I'm like, maybe next year, and then next year comes, and it's just like, oh crap, I forgot again. But I really want to check out this cool experience. So it's always
we'll definitely get you out there with us. We're going to be setting up some dates here pretty soon for the castle for this year. Once it gets warmer out there, we'll be setting up some dates, and we'll definitely have you out. That'll be good. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, I can't really think of anything else, but is there any other stories that you would like to share from Wilson Castle yourself?
Yeah, actually, I've been doing the investigating for going on, since 2009 now. So this is my, I think, technically 11th full year, 10th full year investigating. So I've been to a lot of really cool places that have been on a lot of the TV shows. I've been to Waverly Hills 5 times. I've been to Eastern State a couple times. I volunteered at Rolling Hills for 3 years. I've been to Madison Seminary going on 5 or 6 times. I've been to a lot of these most haunted places in the world, locations that people know about. And to this day, I have seen 2 of the clearest shadow people I have ever seen right at Wilson Castle in Vermont. And it's so cool that this place is an hour and 10 minutes away from me. And I've had 2 really crazy experiences where I've seen full, solid shadows of people move in a building when there's nobody there. It's really cool. The first one happened 2016, I want to say. We were there for one of our public events, and it was actually the end of the event. One of our other investigators, as we were packing up the equipment, had gone outside because he was leaving. You know, we were done. We had already packed up, so he's getting ready to leave. And he goes outside, comes back in and says, hey, you know, you guys left the light on upstairs on the 3rd floor. We got to get that turned off. And I looked at him and I said, there's no lights up there. Like in the ballroom area, there's no light. You know, there's no power. I said, there's no light up there. He said, well, I'm outside and I just saw a light up on the 3rd floor. So as soon as he says that, I took off running up the back staircase to go up towards the 3rd floor. I went up the staircase and one of our other investigators, Logan, grabbed a flashlight. He came right behind me. We got to the top of the stairs, and as I came to the opening of the doorway towards the entire 3rd floor area, I saw what looked like, only thing I could describe it as, would be an old lantern. It was a light. It was about waist high, and I came around the corner. I saw it. I saw the shadow from the waist down of 2 legs. They took about 2 steps and stopped, and as soon as I saw them stop, I told Logan to turn off his flashlight, and as soon as he turned off his flashlight, the light in the lantern that I was seeing went out. So as soon as that light went out, I again took off running. I ran towards where I saw the shadow, went around the whole back of the ballroom, cutting through a couple different rooms. Logan went the other way, and we basically ran into each other when we met back up, and there was nobody up there. But it was clear as day. We both saw this. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I can still picture it to this day. It was a solid figure, looked like they were holding some type of lantern or a light. Took about 2 steps, stopped, and then just vanished like that. And it was really cool.
That's funny that you mentioned that, and I can back that theory up about the no power up there too, because we were told that once it gets nighttime, there's no power up there, so we would need to finish up and use flashlight if we needed it, or we would need to get a really long extension cord. And so I can definitely 100% say, yes, there's absolutely no power up there at all where this ballroom is. And it's even that area, when you have to go up there by yourself, is even more sketchy because you don't know what you're going to be seeing. And even if the shadow that you are seeing is either playing a trick with your mind, or are you really maybe seeing somebody in the doorway that's like a shadow type form. It's really weird because I've almost, I think, seen almost like a shadow figure in a way, like in a doorway, almost as if they were watching me up in the attic because I had to go and get something. And I kept telling myself, like, is my mind playing tricks on me? Like, what's going on here? So
yeah, the attic floor is a whole different thing up there. That place, it definitely has its own vibe. It has its own feeling. It's creepy up there at night when you're up there by yourself. It definitely is. But this was a cool shadow. And then the following year, we were there for another event. And one of our other investigators, this was actually during the event, one of our investigators had gone out to her car to get something. And she came back in and asked me to come outside. She's like, I'm seeing a light in the tower now, the 3rd floor tower of the castle. She's like, come out here and look at this light. So I was like, okay. I went outside, and I'm looking at this light, and I was like, oh, yeah, like I can see a light in the tower. It's just, you know, there's a light in there. And I knew that there was a group on the 3rd floor, so I walkied them, and I said, hey, you know, are you guys in the tower? I can see your flashlight. We just can't really tell if it's you or not. And the other group walkied me back and said, no, we're on the 3rd floor. We're in the ballroom. I said, nobody's in the tower. They said, no, nobody's in the tower. I said, okay, well, can one of you guys go to the tower and check out, you know, what this light is? I'm seeing a weird light in there. Tell me if it's a reflection or if somebody left a flashlight in the room. They're like, okay, we'll go check on it. So me and our investigator, Amy, are standing outside watching the windows of the 3rd floor, and we can see somebody walk into the tower and walk by the first 2 windows on the left side of the tower, and then they just stop. They don't go any farther. So I walkie them and I say, okay, like, I see you guys. What is it? Like, what did you find? And they walkied back and said, we haven't even found the tower yet. We're still up on the attic floor. We can't, you know, we haven't found how to get to the tower yet. We're still wandering around. And I said, nobody's in the tower. And they said, no, nobody's in the tower yet. We're still looking for it. As soon as they said that, I took off running again. We ran inside, went all the way up the stairs to the 3rd floor. I ran right into the tower, and I beat them there. There was nobody in the tower. They hadn't even gotten in there yet. So we don't know who we saw walk by the windows, and we don't know what the light was, but it was still another clear, solid shadow figure on the third floor of Wilson Castle.
According to Andy and Denise, they think it's the same, maybe the same lady as what was captured in those photos that you and I saw recently that were taken last year, and they think it's maybe her, but maybe wearing a different dress, because they were saying it might have been a different color. So it's really hard to really know for sure.
Right, it's tough to know, but I mean, again, that would make sense because, you know, she, in those pictures, like you said, she's standing there and she's staring at these people. So it's like she's very inquisitive and she's curious as to what's going on, and she kind of just keeps an eye on everybody and keeps an eye on the whole castle and kind of just moves around and checks everything out. So it would make sense that it's her. You know, I think she just kind of wanders around the castle, keeping an eye on everything, making sure everything's how it's supposed to be, making sure nobody's doing anything that they're not supposed to be. You know, she's always just kind of there in the background, lurking and making sure that everything's okay, which is, it's cool, you know?
Exactly. I mean, I never felt threatened at Wilson Castle, but like I told Denise, I was like, man, I'm really glad I didn't have this vibe that it made whoever want to slam the door, like in that one story. So I was like, at least I didn't get that happen to me. And I said, I hope I don't, but
yeah, no, everything we've encountered there has been very friendly and very welcoming. We've never had anybody feel threatened or anything there. It's a really cool place to go investigate and have cool experiences and capture really cool evidence.
Exactly. And I hope one day people that say that it's not haunted really do get that one time where they have to ask themselves what just happened.
Yes, that's the coolest time. You know, when you have somebody who's we get skeptics all the time at our events, and that's one of the coolest feelings when you have somebody comes in as a skeptic. My goal is to not say you're wrong, the ghosts are real, here's why. My goal for them is just I want them to come in with an open mind and see if they experience something. And it's such a cool feeling when you have somebody who walks in as a skeptic saying, you know, I don't believe in any of this. I just kind of got dragged here by my friend or my girlfriend. And at the end of the night, they come up to you and say, hey, man, like, you know, I experienced some stuff tonight that I cannot explain. I don't know how this happened. I don't know what I saw. I don't know what I heard, but I'm interested now. You know, it's a really cool feeling when that happens.
Yes. And I mean, you know, like I was saying with Denise with that story about the slamming the door to scare that tourist, I mean, and you know, I had to ask her like you would probably ask somebody like, okay, with the door shut, was there any wind? Like, you know, like could it have been an open window to slam the door shut? Oh, okay, so you're saying it was physically all the way shut, and then this thing somehow turned to open, the doorknob turned to open, and then it just slammed. Like, so
right, yeah, yep.
Yeah, like, you know, like that's where it starts to say, like, okay, so is this something paranormal? Because, you know, most of the time maybe it is. Most of the time it's just a wind or something. And when you get something that like that, even where, you know, maybe the doorknob turned to open up the door, and then they slammed it, and you know, you gotta just keep asking your questions, like, okay, like, cause you know, everybody's gonna think it's something paranormal until you debunk it, and then, yeah, unfortunately, you know, that's just how it is in the field, but it's not always paranormal, which a lot of people think sometimes, and
absolutely.
And I mean, you probably had cases where, you know, they thought something was haunting them, and it just ended up being like a rattling pipe or something. So I mean, it's not even nothing really that serious either. But
absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of other explanations for things besides paranormal activity. But when you do, you know, rule out all these other reasonable explanations, and you're left with something that you can't explain, that's what it is. You know, that's the paranormal. It's just something that you cannot explain. It's not normal. And it's a lot of fun when you experience that kind of stuff.
Yeah, agreed. And it's always fascinating. And when I'm trying to remember when I took my fiance to Wilson Castle, I think it was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we did the morning tours, and I think it was Denise that was there. Somebody was there that showed us those pictures that I was just talking to you about the piano stuff, and since they had another group come in, and then because it was just me and my fiance, and I think there was a group of 5 people that came in, I said, "Oh yeah, go deal with them. Like, don't worry about us." And I said, if we had any questions, we'll definitely come and ask or something. But I mean, we just ended up just walking with that other big group, and they didn't even seem to mind. So I mean, it worked out in the end. So,
Right.
I mean, it's really cool seeing these pictures. Anyway, these 3 pictures. Especially, did you see the one where it was the man and the child, and they took another picture, and that same lady with the gown is actually facing, is having their back facing them, like
he's looking out the window.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
It's I had her send me all these photos that night. She was showing me them on her phone, and I asked her to send them to me. I actually still have them on my phone, and I look at them every once in a while because I've been there a bunch, and that night, like I said, we've spent half hour, 45 minutes in that room trying to figure out where this woman would have had to have been standing in order for this picture to come out like that. And it's so cool to see something like that because it's something tangible. It's something you can hold, and you can see this photo evidence of a woman that everybody that was there that day swears was not in the building. So how is it possible that she's in these pictures? It's just one of these things that it makes investigating worth it, and it's kind of what drives you to go do more because you want to know how that's possible that this woman is there, and can I capture her in a photo if I go around the same time of day, in the same time of year, and I go in that room? Will I be able to capture her? Is it a residual type of haunting, or do you just have to be lucky and be in the right spot at the right time? The picture is amazing. I mean, the picture it's some of the most clear photos of something paranormal that I've ever seen. It's not, a little blurry mist in the background. This is a full-blown woman you can see in these photos, and she's clear as day. Yeah, and it's really cool.
Yeah, she's a solid form, as if, I'm literally seeing her. I know she's there in the room, even though I don't know she's there. And it's really cool to see these photos, and it makes me want to go to Wilson Castle as soon as they open, just to try to figure these photos out myself, because it's cool to kind of see oh wow, to actually see where this lady was I should say in the photos, and trying to match it up in the castle. It's just mind-blowing, really. And then like you said, it just makes investigating that much more worth the time of figuring out who the lady is. How did she get there? What time would this, oh yeah, we could go on about the theories of everything of how, we could even ask them, what would the weather like? What time was this when you took the picture?
Exactly, yeah.
We can really go so much into it that if we maybe even got down to the exact time, exact spot, exact day, whatever, it might work maybe not almost every time, but it might work every other time.
Right. It gives you a better shot at possibly capturing the same thing again,
if not something different. So, but I don't know how much more you have to share, but I just want to quickly thank your time for joining me to talk about Wilson Castle, and that if there is anything, or if you have any type of final thought about your thoughts on the Wilson Castle, and once again, a message to those that are skeptical, or to those that really do think that it's not haunted. If you just have a final message for them, and I'll even let you do plugs on where can people keep up to date with your paranormal team when they want to learn more from you as well.
Yeah, well, I want to say thanks again for reaching out and asking me to be a part of this. It's really cool, and I enjoy talking about these local spots that aren't as well known as the places on TV. Because these places deserve the attention just as much. They're just as active. These spirits are just as important. You need to get out there. The history of these locations is just as important. So, to the people that are skeptical, I would say go to Wilson Castle. It doesn't have to be on a ghost hunt with us. Just go there, even if it's for a day tour. First of all, go and support them restoring the castle. Go take a tour, look at the amazing history and the architecture of the building, and who knows, you might run into something. Go in with an open mind. Go into these rooms, take pictures, ask questions. It doesn't matter if it's during the day. Just go in and try it out. You never know when and where things are going to happen. So, don't completely write off a location if you've never even given it the chance to show you that it is active. But if you do want to come on a ghost hunt with us at Wilson Castle, we start them in the spring. We run them right through the summer and into October. We usually do, one a month, one every other month. We definitely do a couple over the summer. We're going to do a couple sleepovers at the castle. All of our events are posted first on our Facebook page, which is just facebook.com, South Glens Falls Paranormal Society. That's where we post all of our events for all of our locations that we host events at and all of our locations that we do private investigations at. Our tickets will all be posted on there. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We have a Twitter, all that kind of stuff. We're everywhere. So you can check us out, find our pictures and all of our stories and locations that we're going to. But, thanks again for having me on. We'll definitely have to get you out there with us this year and come check out the castle, investigate with us. We can try to recreate those pictures and just see what else we can get this year. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I completely agree, and I can't wait to try to hang out at the castle at night even more than what I have done, I should say. But to actually investigate is probably one of my goals and dream, really. I always would have thought something like Wilson Castle would be really cool to investigate because of, it's maybe almost 200 years of history right there, really.
Yeah.
So it's nice, it's beautiful, and like I told Denise, I said, you gotta appreciate the spirit there, even to this day, watching over that castle, because it's amazing, and it's also nice to hear that they're friendly, and it's always good to hear that it's a warm welcome there. And like I told Denise, when I step into Wilson Castle, it's really weird to get a feeling almost as if it's warm enough to almost call Wilson Castle your own home, even though it's not your home.
Yes, you're walking. It's basically like you're walking into your friend's house when you go there. That's just the feeling you get. You're welcome there, and they want to talk to you. And it really is a cool spot. So we'll definitely have to keep in touch, and we'll get you out there with us this year and see what we can catch.
Here is John Dean, who is known for Terrorealm, and what he had for experiences.
The two experiences that I had there, one of them was when Andy and I were there. I don't know, it was probably 8, 9 o'clock at night or something like that. And we left. He was giving me a ride home because I rode over with him. And I don't know, a couple minutes into the trip, he realized that he forgot his cell phone charger. So we went back, and we go in through the side door, which goes into the kitchen. I should say the kitchen door, because there are 2 doors on the side there. And as soon as we opened the kitchen door, we could hear a thumping. It was really loud. It was like thump, 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 thump. And it stopped as soon as we came. Well, not as soon as we came in, because we still heard it. But we walked through the door, and then we heard it, and it stopped. So I went upstairs to see, because that's where all our Halloween stuff was upstairs, and plus the castle was closed. And so I thought somebody might have been in there, and we went upstairs and looked around, and there was nothing. So I don't remember if that experience happened before the next one or whichever, but we decided one day to do a little ghost hunt, because I like to go ghost hunting. I used to anyways. I haven't done it in a long time, but I got the old K2 meter, and I got a little digital voice recorder that I've had forever that I used to take the cemeteries with me and go ghost hunting. And so anyway, we set up a flashlight on that main staircase where the red carpet right in the middle there across from the fireplace. Well, anyways, right where the piano is, we set the tape recorder or the digital recorder and a flashlight up on the stairs, and we went and stood down the stairs, and there were 3 of us, I think, there, and we're just like talking and asking questions, and the light would flash, which I thought was kind of cool because I'd never seen that happen before except for on Ghost Hunters. So I was like, wow, this is cool. Yeah, and so I was all excited, and then later on, I took the recorder down. I got it home and I plugged it in to my laptop, and transferred the audio there, put headphones in, the whole thing. And around the same time that the flashlight was going off, we got an EVP. I can't tell you what it says because I don't remember, but I do have it somewhere, and when I find it, I'll send it to you. So those are the 2 main experiences that I've had there.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And you're the other person that mentioned like a thump 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 noise too. So I can't remember who it was that I was talking with that said the thumping. I think it was maybe the guy Steve from Subsequent Falls Paranormal Society, and then I think maybe I think Andy also mentioned the thumping sound too.
Yeah, it probably was Andy because, like I said, it was him and I that were there, and we left. And I can't remember. It was something to do with the haunted house. I know that. We were like always there, and hopefully starting this year we're going to be always there again. No, but anyways, yeah. So we were there doing something with the haunted house. This was a few years ago. I think it was 2015, or maybe it might even have been 2014 that it happened. So it's hard to remember that far back. I don't remember what I did last week. So, but for something like those experiences, they stick with you because it's like, we were definitely the only ones there to walk in and to hear and it was coming from like directly above the kitchen, like somebody was stomping on the floor upstairs, which is what I thought. Like I thought somebody had heard us come back and ran. So, I was like, well, I'm going to go up there, which is probably stupid because if there was somebody in there, then that's probably not a safe thing to do. But I don't know. I was doing MMA at the time, so I wasn't afraid of anything. So yeah, I went up there and I looked all around the second floor. I even went up to the 3rd floor and looked around. The 3rd floor is where all the Halloween props were stored and stuff. But yeah, I went through the whole place up there and there was nothing. So we just I came downstairs, we looked at each other and said, well, let's get the hell out of here. We locked the door and left it.
There you go.
But yeah. I mean, I was there not that long ago and saw pictures that somebody had sent in, where they'd taken pictures by that piano and, there's streaks of light and stuff. So I'm going to get a hold of Denise and Andy here one of these days. Pretty soon, I think, maybe when it warms up. It's too cold there now, but and I want to go and do another ghost hunt. Just us. Like amateurs.
Right. Yeah, I haven't ghost hunted for a couple of years. I haven't ghost hunted for a couple of years myself.
Yeah, I haven't. Like I wanted to do it seriously, but it's really hard. I got 3 kids, so I can't just like leave them at home and go out and do ghost hunting and stuff. But yeah, I've done it before, like down in, I can't remember the name of that cemetery. There's a cemetery in Mass. It was like the very first one. It's in Plymouth, Mass. That's where my mom used to live. And, I got EVP out of there. We did ghost hunting down in Gettysburg and got some EVP out of Devil's Den and stuff like that. So I've been pretty successful with the EVP stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, well, maybe when it gets warmer out and stuff, maybe we can all plan a ghost hunt night or something.
That would be cool. I'm sure Andy would be down for that for sure.
I don't think he would mind, or Denise would. We'll definitely talk to him.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, they like all that stuff too. So, and they're both just so cool. They're just such cool people that
Oh yeah, they're
hanging out with them. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
you couldn't ask for a better owner of the castle, and you couldn't ask for better volunteers.
yeah, there was a lot of things, like a lot. Some people, I would say, because it's a museum and there's some pricey stuff in there, maybe priceless
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And and she doesn't mind that we do walk around. Like she's not going to let just any random stranger go running around the castle, obviously. But we were working there, so she knew us, and she doesn't mind that we go and do like ghost hunts and stuff like that. And I thought that was pretty cool because a lot of places you're like, nope, it's not happening. So
No, I agree.
yeah. So I guess that's about all I can offer for right now, but if I do think of something else, I'll definitely let you know. And if I find that EVP, like I said, it's on my old computer, which is here. I don't have a monitor for it at the moment, I don't think. I'll find one. But, if I can find that EVP, I'll send it over to you.
That's awesome. Well, I also know you do the Terrorealm, too. So, and that
Yes.
was there, I forget now, was it 2 years ago at Wilson Castle?
It was, we did it there 2014 and 15. And then, like an idiot, I decided to move somewhere else because there was stuff happening that I'm not going to get into. Nothing bad about the castle at all. It just certain people that were involved, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So, but the good news is that I've been talking with Andy, and we're thinking about hooking back up and doing an entirely new, I don't know if we're still going to call it Terrorealm, but I would like to, since I have all the stuff and all the advertising and all the haunted attraction connections under that name. But we're looking to do something totally different than what we have done before, a whole new attraction and stuff. So that's pretty exciting. Got to wait till it warms up, though.
I hear you. Well, I'll tell you what, John, for the record, that if you want to come back on to talk more about your next project for the haunted attraction, feel free to come back on.
Great, awesome. I will do that. Matter of fact, I will mention it to Andy, and I'll try to set up a time where the both of us can probably call in and just talk about things. We're not going to get into too much detail up front because, like I said, we're still in the planning stage. I have a ton of ideas. He's got some ideas. So we don't really have a definite full-blown plan yet. So, but yeah, because I hate doing, and I do this a lot. Like I will go and say, "Yep, we're going to do this," and then something will happen. We can't do that, or we change it, and then so people show up expecting the thing I said we were going to do, and we're not doing it. So then I look stupid. But yeah, so I'll talk to him and see if we can set up a time and just kind of put the buzz out there and get it back to where it once was with the two of us together. I think we make a great team.
Yeah, I agree. And just for one more, for your final thought, John, just to close your segment here. Now, when you first visited the castle, did you ever think Wilson Castle was haunted, or did you go in there with like an open mind, or did you think something could be there? Like, what did you first think of Wilson Castle?
Before I went there, I had heard that there was some stuff that happened there, or like hauntings, I should say, not stuff that happened. But yeah, before I went there, I heard that the place was haunted, and I do keep an open mind because I have experienced some stuff, but I don't know. But basically, yeah. So in having the couple of experiences while I was there was kind of cool. So it kind of, made it a little more real. Like, because you can hear stories, and it's hard to believe stories until it actually happens to you. If that makes any sense.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I do keep an open mind, but I'm also kind of skeptical in a way that if it doesn't happen to me, it's harder for me to believe. Like. Yeah.
Yep.
If you had evidence that Bigfoot was in my backyard, if I did not see him, I could not believe it. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. But okay, cool. So there goes that ADHD for you.
Well, anyway, John.
In a nutshell, I'm just going to say yes.
Well, John, once again, thank you for your time, and I can't wait to chat with you more in the future.
Great, no problem. You got me on Facebook, so definitely keep in touch, and I'll do the same.
Today, Wilson Castle is operated as a house museum and is open late May until late October for just a small admission fee. Also, you can have a wedding there. You can take part in events like the haunted tours and more during the fall, if not during events during the spring and summer. Volunteers have even stated themselves that they don't like staying there once it becomes dark out. Some feel as if they are being watched, which I can 100% agree, because Wilson Castle does give off a strange feeling at nighttime, especially when there's not that many people there. And if you go wandering into rooms by yourself, it will really start to question your sanity. Also, you can learn more about the tours, events that they are having throughout the season, and you can plan a wedding. And you can find all this information at one place at www.wilsoncastle.com. Wilson Castle is really hard to describe inside. The real answer is by simply visiting the castle from summer to fall, because who knows, maybe the owners still watch over the castle and watch us as we walk amongst them. Unless the photos that we have stated are somehow debunkable and not real proof. But then the real question is, how can it not be real? How can it be fake? Because, as we mentioned in the conversation with Andy, Sheila, and Denise, nobody wears that type of old 18th century dress. So maybe this lady is in fact a real spirit living inside the Wilson Castle walls. But if these stories are somehow fake and fabricated, then at least it makes a very interesting tale of making you believe.